Have you ever felt like the events in your life, the joys and the heartaches, are somehow interconnected threads of an unseen tapestry being woven by divine hands? What if the closed doors, the unexpected betrayals, and the heart-wrenching losses were not random acts of life, but intentional markers guiding you to a purpose greater than you can imagine? Welcome to this journey of reflection and discovery, where we'll uncover profound truths about how God protects and guides us, often through ways we least expect. If you find this message resonates with you, make sure to subscribe to this channel for more insights that can uplift and inspire your spirit. Life's struggles often leave us questioning, don't they? We hold on to relationships, jobs, or dreams, only to find ourselves broken when they slip away. Yet, as time passes, we sometimes see that those losses were blessings in disguise. This realization may not come immediately, it may arrive slowly, like a sunrise after a long, dark night. So today, we begin by exploring a fundamental truth. Not everything that leaves your life is a loss. Sometimes, it is divine protection. Imagine this. Someone you trusted deeply starts pulling away without explanation. It stings, doesn't it? You replay every interaction, wondering what you did wrong, questioning your worth. But pause for a moment and reflect. What if their departure wasn't rejection but protection? What if they carried hidden intentions or were steering you away from your divine purpose? Proverbs 3 verses 5 to 6 reminds us to trust in the Lord with all our hearts and lean not on our own understanding. When someone leaves your life, God may be shielding you from harm you cannot yet perceive. We often hold on to what's familiar because the unknown feels so frightening. Familiarity, even when it stifles us, is deceptively comforting. But God, in His infinite wisdom, knows what we cannot. Like a master sculptor, He chips away at the excess, removing what does not serve the masterpiece He is crafting within us. While it might feel like loss, it is purposefully creating space for growth, healing, and blessings. Reflect for a moment. Have you ever felt an unexplainable unease around someone? Perhaps their words seemed kind, but your spirit recoiled in their presence. That discomfort isn't paranoia, it's a whisper from the divine. In 1 John 4 verse 1, we are called to test the spirits to discern whether they are from God. That nudge you feel, that instinct to step back, is often God alerting you to unseen dangers. Trusting that signal can save you from heartbreak, betrayal, or harm. Have you ever looked back at a moment of betrayal or loss and realized that it was the very thing that set you free from harm? It's a profound revelation, isn't it? In this part of our journey, we'll dive deeper into the ways God's divine protection manifests in our lives, often through the most unexpected and painful experiences. Sometimes, God reveals the true nature of people in our lives not to harm us, but to protect us. Think about a moment when someone you trusted suddenly changed. Their words, actions, or intentions blindsided you, leaving you hurt and confused. It felt like a betrayal, didn't it? Yet, as time passed, you began to see it for what it was, a revelation. This was God pulling back the curtain, showing you what had been hidden. Jeremiah 17 verse 9 tells us that the heart is deceitful above all things and desperately sick. While we see the surface smiles, kind words, and outward gestures, God sees what lies within. He knows the jealousy, deceit, or harm waiting to unfold. He allows their true colors to emerge, not to break you, but to free you. It's a gift, though it rarely feels like one. In the moment, consider the story of Judas Iscariot. For years, he walked alongside Jesus, appearing as a loyal disciple. Yet his heart harbored betrayal. Jesus, knowing this all along, allowed Judas to remain until the appointed time when his true intentions were revealed. That moment wasn't a tragedy. It was part of God's plan. Similarly, when someone's true nature is exposed in your life, it's a sign that God is guiding you to make a necessary change, one that aligns with His purpose. It's natural to want to ignore these revelations. Our minds cling to familiarity, making excuses for behavior that doesn't sit right. But Psalm 32 verse 8 reassures us, "I will instruct you and teach you in the way you should go. I will counsel you with my loving eye on you." When God reveals the truth, it's not to hurt you, it's to guide you toward a better path. Have you ever ignored that inner nudge only to face greater pain later? It's a common human experience, but it's also a reminder of the importance of listening to God's voice. He speaks to us in whispers, in the stillness of our hearts. That unease you feel around someone isn't paranoia, it's divine discernment, the Holy Spirit, promised in John 14 verse 26, is our helper, revealing truths we cannot see with our eyes. When you feel that discomfort, resist the urge to dismiss it. Take it to God in prayer. Ask Him for clarity and courage to act. Often, He will confirm what your spirit already knows. It's not always easy to follow through, especially when it involves stepping away from someone you care about. But trust that God's plans for you are good. Sometimes, this unease becomes most apparent when you're on the brink of something important, a decision, a new opportunity, or a significant step forward. You might notice that the presence of a certain individual leaves you drained, anxious, or restless. This is no coincidence. It's a sign that their influence is misaligned with God's purpose for your life. Remember, God doesn't always make the danger obvious. Instead, He uses subtle signs to test our faith and obedience. Psalm 25 verse 9 says, "He guides the humble in what is right and teaches them His way." By trusting these signs, we align ourselves with His wisdom, sparing ourselves unnecessary pain. As we move forward, reflect on the people in your life. Are there relationships that bring you peace? Or do some leave you feeling weighed down? Trust God's whispers when He guides you to let go. By stepping into His will, you're making room for the blessings and connections He has planned. Have you ever felt like no matter how hard you try, a certain relationship just doesn't work? Misunderstandings arise, conflicts persist, and barriers seem to appear out of nowhere. It's frustrating, isn't it? You wonder if the effort is worth it, if things could ever improve. What if I told you that sometimes those persistent challenges are not obstacles to overcome, but signs from God steering you away from something not meant for you? Let's reflect on those moments when no matter how much you pour into a relationship, it feels one-sided and forced. You give, yet they only take. You listen, but they dismiss. Over time, this imbalance drains you emotionally, mentally, even spiritually. While relationships require effort, they should never be a constant uphill battle. In Matthew 11 verse 28, Jesus invites us to come to Him when we're weary, and He will give us rest. If a connection leaves you perpetually drained, it may no longer be a blessing but a burden. We often hold on to such relationships out of fear. Fear of being alone, fear of failure, fear of letting go of what we've invested so much in. But God sees what we cannot. He knows the hidden costs of staying in these draining dynamics. While we cling to what feels familiar, He is preparing something better, something that aligns with His plan for our lives. Consider the story of Samson and Delilah in Judges 16. Samson was chosen by God and blessed with extraordinary strength to fulfill a divine purpose. Yet his relationship with Delilah was far from mutual. She deceived and manipulated him, ultimately leading to his downfall. Samson's story reminds us of the dangers of clinging to relationships that harm rather than uplift. If a connection feels forced or one-sided, it may be God's way of urging you to release it and trust Him to bring something better into your life. It's also important to recognize when conflict in a relationship becomes a pattern. Occasional disagreements are natural, but when misunderstandings and barriers arise repeatedly, it may be a sign that the relationship is misaligned with God's purpose. In 1 Corinthians 14, verse 33, we are reminded that God is not a God of confusion, but of peace. If a connection consistently brings turmoil, it may be time to reevaluate its place in your life. Persistent conflicts often distract us from God's greater plans. They drain our energy, steal our focus, and diminish our peace. But Romans 8, verse 28 offers reassurance. We know that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him, who have been called according to His purpose. Even when a relationship feels like it's falling apart, God is using those moments to redirect you towards something better. Ask yourself, are the conflicts you face in certain relationships helping you grow, or are they tearing you down? Are the barriers forcing you to pause and reflect, or are they leaving you discouraged and trapped? If the answer points to harm rather than healing, it's time to surrender that relationship to God. Letting go isn't easy. It requires faith and trust that God's plans are far greater than what we can imagine. Philippians 4 verse 7 assures us that His peace, which transcends all understanding, will guard our hearts and minds. By stepping away from chaos and embracing His guidance, you're creating space for the peace He wants to bring into your life. Sometimes, this peace comes unexpectedly. After a toxic relationship ends, you might feel grief at first, confusion, anger, even regret. But over time, a quiet sense of clarity begins to emerge. The weight you once carried is lifted. The constant tension is replaced with calm. That peace is not a coincidence. It is God's confirmation that their absence was part of His plan to protect you. Think of Jonah's story in the Bible. When Jonah disobeyed God, a storm endangered everyone on the ship he boarded. Only when Jonah was thrown overboard did the storm cease, bringing peace to the sailors, Jonah 1 verse 15. Similarly, when someone leaves your life and peace follows, it's often a sign of God's deliverance. As you reflect on your relationships, consider the ones that bring peace and joy versus those that leave you feeling drained. Trust that God's plans are for your good, even when they involve letting go. Have you ever felt a strange, inexplicable peace after someone left your life? It's a surprising experience, isn't it? At first, there's grief, confusion, or even anger. You replay the memories, questioning what went wrong. Yet slowly, something remarkable happens. A calm begins to settle over your heart, and the storm within you fades. That peace is not accidental. It's a divine confirmation that their absence was part of God's protection over your life. When someone exits your life, especially someone you thought would always stay, the initial pain can feel unbearable. But John 14 verse 27 reassures us, "Peace I leave with you, my peace I give to you. I do not give to you as the world gives. Do not let your hearts be troubled, and do not be afraid." This promise is a cornerstone of understanding why peace often follows the departure of harmful people. It's a sign that their influence wasn't aligned with God's will for your life. Consider Jonah's story again. When he disobeyed God, the storm that followed put everyone on the ship in danger. Only when Jonah was thrown overboard did the storm calm, bringing peace to the sailors. Similarly, some people in our lives are like Jonah in that story. They bring chaos, disruption, and spiritual storms. When God removes them, the storm ends and peace follows. This peace isn't just emotional, it's spiritual. It's a reflection of your alignment with God's will. Often after someone leaves, you begin to see things you couldn't before. Maybe they were subtly steering you away from your purpose, or perhaps their presence drained your energy without you realizing it. God, in His infinite wisdom, sees the hidden harm they bring and acts to protect you, even when it's hard to understand in the moment. When God removes harmful people, it's not just about the absence of their presence, it's about making space for something greater. Their departure allows you to heal, grow, and align yourself with His purpose. Isaiah 43 verse 19 reminds us, "See, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs up. Do you not perceive it?" The peace you feel is an indication that God is planting something new in your life. But finding peace doesn't mean the journey is without challenges. Even when you begin to feel calm, doubts might creep in. Did I make the right decision in letting them go? Could things have been different? In those moments, Philippians 4 verses 6 to 7 offers comfort. Do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition with thanksgiving, present your request to God. And the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. This divine peace also paves the way for growth. Harmful relationships often take up emotional and spiritual space. They act like weeds in a garden, choking the life out of what God wants to flourish. When those relationships are removed, the garden of your life has room to bloom. New opportunities, healthier connections, and unexpected blessings begin to emerge. Have you noticed how, after a season of loss, your perspective shifts? Perhaps you start to see your worth more clearly, or you begin to pursue dreams you had put on hold. This transformation isn't coincidental, it's part of God's plan to restore and renew you. The peace that follows also becomes a powerful testimony. Sharing your story of deliverance and healing can inspire others who are struggling to let go of toxic relationships. Your journey can serve as a reminder that God's plans are always for our good, even when they involve temporary pain. Reflect on your own life. Can you think of someone whose departure brought unexpected peace? How has that peace transformed your perspective? Trust that every closed door, every goodbye, is part of God's greater plan to lead you into a brighter, more fulfilling future. Life is full of twists and turns, and often, the pain of rejection or loss can make us question our worth or the fairness of life itself. But what if every challenge, every departure, and every closed door was a step towards something greater? What if it was God's way of shaping you, shielding you, and leading you closer to the purpose He has designed just for you? When God removes someone from your life, it's not always an immediate relief. Sometimes it feels like an open wound, but over time, as the hurt fades, the reasons for their departure become clearer. The weight they brought, the negativity they carried, or the harm they caused becomes evident, even if it was hidden before. God, in His infinite wisdom, acts not just to heal the present, but to protect your future. Jeremiah 29 verse 11 reminds us, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." It's easy to cling to what we know, even when it's unhealthy, because the unknown feels terrifying. But God's plan is always better, even when it requires us to let go. Trusting Him means believing that every loss is paving the way for a gain you cannot yet see. As you reflect on your relationships, ask yourself, are there people who drain your energy instead of uplifting you? Do certain connections feel forced or one-sided? These are often signs that a relationship no longer serves your purpose. God calls us to walk in freedom, not in bondage. When we hold on to what He's asking us to release, we hinder His blessings from fully entering our lives. Letting go isn't just about removing harmful people. It's also about making space for those who will walk alongside you in faith, growth, and purpose. Ecclesiastes 4 verses 9 to 10 says, "Two are better than one because they have a good return for their labor. If either of them falls down, one can help the other up." God intends for your relationships to be sources of strength and encouragement, not burdens that weigh you down. Even when conflicts arise or barriers appear, it's worth considering if they are divine signs of redirection. Persistent struggles in a relationship aren't always meant to be overcome. Sometimes, they're warnings that it's time to move on. God doesn't create confusion, He brings peace. And when a relationship continually disrupts that peace, it may be His way of guiding you to something better. Finding peace after a loss is one of the clearest signs of God's hand at work. The stillness, the clarity, and the renewed energy that come after someone exits your life are not coincidences. They are His confirmation that you are on the right path. This peace doesn't just heal, it prepares you for the blessings He is waiting for you. Isaiah 61 verse 3 speaks of God's ability to provide a crown of beauty instead of ashes, the oil of joy instead of mourning, and a garment of praise instead of a spirit of despair. What feels like destruction today is often the foundation for something far more beautiful tomorrow. Your life is being rebuilt according to His perfect plan. As you move forward, remember this: God's protection isn't always gentle. Sometimes it feels like loss, pain, or confusion, but His ways are higher than ours, and His love for you is steadfast. Trust that every step, every trial, and every moment of discomfort is preparing you for a future filled with purpose, peace, and joy. Before we end, I encourage you to take time to reflect on your journey. Think about the relationships you've had and the peace that has followed their departure. Write it down, pray about it, and thank God for His guidance. Sharing your story can be a powerful testimony of His grace and protection. Thank you for joining me on this journey of uncovering the unmistakable signs of God's protection. If this message has inspired or comforted you, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Your words could be the light someone else needs to embrace their own journey of faith. Remember, you are not walking this path alone. God is with you, guiding, protecting, and loving you every step of the way. Until next time, may His peace guard your heart and lead you into a brighter, more fulfilling future. God bless you.